Alright, today I'm going to be showing you how to be replacing the motor mount on the driver's side of a Tahoe. This will be similar as to any of the 4.8s, the 5.3s, and the 6.0s and the 6.2 motors. Same thing as similar as the Denali, Escalades. I know the 35 gas hundreds, or the gas engines for the 3500 trucks, the Silverados, the Sierras, the Denali trucks, the Avalanche, Tahoes, Yukons, and so on. Just anything with the 4.8, the 5.3, and then the 6.0 and the 6.2. Very simple process for the two-wheel drive. I do have a video specifically for the four-wheel drive. It is a little bit more work, but it is manageable. For the two-wheel drive, it's literally a walk in the park. This could help you save about $500 per each side, because remember that's what they were charging about for one of my customers, something like that. But you can just get this online. I believe they're $30 online, and then at the store, let's say at AutoZone, I believe they're like $50, $60. So very easy. Pretty much the only tool you're gonna need is a 15mm, couple extensions, and a jack. And then I would recommend 4x4, or if you have 2x2s, you can make them into a 4x4. So I would recommend that just for the wood, just so we can lift up the motor. If you don't have a jack or whatever, it is going to be difficult and it's not manageable for that part. If you do have a cherry picker or something to lift up the engine, you can do that. But with the jack, when I do that, it's more easier, but you got to be careful of how you do it, because if the jack slips right under, the motor can fall, and if you're in the middle of that, you can hurt yourself. So be aware of that, be cautious. Do this at your own risk on that part. So trust me, just be careful on that. So I just want to be making sure that you are doing this on an elevation, and then also if you feel like it's gonna be too slippery, you can't put a carpet on there so the jack doesn't slide. But man, if you have everything leveled up, as long as you don't see the wood tilting or anything, then you're perfectly fine. But if you haven't already, give it a thumbs up, comment down below if you have any questions on this video, and then hit that subscribe button for more upcoming videos. And we're going to go ahead and start this video after the intro. So there's going to be three 15mm. So there's going to be one right there, there's the second one, and then right there you can kind of see it right there, that's the third one. Now if you need to, you can actually bend this guy back and just pull that right out the way for the 4 bolts that are going to be on the block. So I usually start off with the bolts that are right here, and I have the extension. Now let's say these are kind of being a little bit difficult to get to, you can take this guy right off, but you don't need to for this setup. So we're actually going to sneak out the motor mount from the bottom of the car, because the 4x4 transfer case is not in the way. So when you're taking off these 3 bolts on the bottom, remember that they are going to have Loctite, so they are going to come out pretty hard. So the tool that I'm going to be using, it's going to be a 15mm socket, and then with a swivel, and then a few extensions. We're going to be under the vehicle. This is where I have my jack at, and then obviously pretty much 4x4. So right there, as you can see, we have it on this plate right here, and I think I have this probably maybe about like 16 inches high as the wood. The car is a little bit lowered, but I think this actually works out pretty well. So see how it's just kind of like tilted a little bit, so be careful with that so it doesn't slide right out, and you're doing it on a flat elevation. So there's going to be 4 bolts holding in it. So right there, that's one, and then right there behind that plate, that's the second one, and then right there's the third, and then right there's the fourth. I mean, they're not that hard. So for this guy right here, I'll just kind of pull this wire back right here so it's not in the way, and you just wiggle this back and forth. Watch out for your eyes. And then make sure if you are gonna move the wire, make sure that you put it back in place right here, because that's where it's originally supposed to go. So we just kind of need this wire out the way. Then basically I have it lifted up, so as you're lifting up the block, you are going to be lifting it up. The car's going to be going up with it, and then eventually you're going to see that the motor is going to be tilting up. The more space you got, the better. So you kind of see that. So it's up in the air like about a couple inches. So right there, let me see if you can see that. So right there you can see the gap that I have. So that's just so it could help me move things around. And then if you need to, you can move the heat shield back and forth, bend it around or something. You can use they believe, yeah, you can use the deep socket for the top ones. I remember just doing it with the single stubby socket. But these guys are pretty easy to get out. It's just the ones that are bolted to the chassis. Those were the ones that were hard to get out. So we're going to go ahead and start this process. I'm going to try to record this to the best of my abilities. So bear with me if you can't see something. So it's just hard to record and do two things at once. So I'm going to be using the stubby socket. You can definitely use these for the bottom bolts. And then on this side, on the right side of the mount, we'll basically just do the same thing. If you need to, you can unplug this so you don't break the connector. So we'll just move that out the way. And again, we're going to be using the same setup. There you have it. It's all loose, and then basically we'll sneak it out from here. So if you need to, you're going to go ahead and fold these guys back down. So on this side you'll fold it down, and on the other side, if you bent it, you're going to fold it down too. So I'm going to fold both of those down, make sure they're nice and good, and then we're just going to slide this right out. Now if the motor, if you can't slide it out, obviously you need to lift up the motor. So I'm going to lift it up just a little bit more. Alright, so here's our new mount and here's our old mount. So basically at this point what we need to go ahead and do, obviously we need to transfer over the heat shield and this bracket onto the new one that we got. If your new one already came with the bracket, then you don't have to worry about this setup. So we'll just go ahead and take off these bolts, and then we'll take off these. These are 15-2 as well. So we'll pull off this, just like that. So basically the way how we take it off, obviously, as you can see, this is pretty jacked up. So we'll toss this to the side. And then for our new one, make sure obviously we do it the same way. So wherever this is, the cover needs to be on that side. So just like you see this, so the cover needs to cover that area. And then for this guy, obviously the highest point, as you can see the angle, so this one is going to be going on the top of the block, so we just need to sit it just like that. If you don't want to get confused, you can mark it just like top or bottom, but I shouldn't worry about that. You can use your old bolts, or you can put on the new ones. I'm just going to be using the old ones because they're still great. I like these ones better than the new ones that they came with. Alright, so now we're ready to go ahead and do the install. Alright, so when installing this new one, obviously we're not going to have that much play, so it's going to be a very tight fit. So just be patient with it. Don't give up or anything. So if you need to lift up the motor, just lift it up. It can only go so high, so just keep in mind that. So we'll just go ahead and slide it in just like this. Make sure you don't pinch your hands between the block right here and then the mount, because if the jack ends up slipping, we don't want to lose our fingers. Alright, so then once you're paying attention, I don't know if you can see my finger. So where that little nipple was on the mount, that's right here. Once this is seated in, then you know you're like at a pretty good standpoint. You know everything will be aligned. But before we do anything, I like to put the 4 bolts on the block first before doing anything else. So we'll just lift this up. Remember, don't forget this wire. So let's put this guy right in there right now, and then we'll just have it sitting in between that, because we don't want that to be out of whack. So we'll go ahead and again thread these all in by hand. If you need to move the shield, go ahead and do so, and then we'll just move it back later. So we got everything threaded in by hand. Now we're just gonna go ahead and fasten everything with my electric ratchet. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect back the connector. So, and then make sure you put that on, and then make sure you tighten your bolts in by hand. Alright, so now we gotta go ahead and lower the motor. Now, you're gonna lower the motor slowly, and now if you're having an issue, what you can do is get like a little pry bar and, you know, wiggle it back and forth until it fully seats down. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. So everything aligned perfectly, so we're good to go. So we're gonna go ahead and put on the bolts. So one thing I forgot to mention, for the 4x4, make sure that you have those screwed in or nailed together. Don't have them like separated. So I just wanted to mention that. I did forget to mention that in that video. But if this video helped you out, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, share the video, and then hit that subscribe button for more upcoming videos in the future. And literally this job took me about 15 minutes to do. I believe it quotes for a couple hours. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was like 2-3 hours, so whatever it is. But just so you can save money, and as you can see the effort, you don't need that much tools for it. Just remember that the top bolts on the mount, not the ones on the block, the ones on the bottom are going to be screwing in more harder, because obviously you still got the Loctite still in there. So just don't be scared as you're screwing it in that they're going to go in pretty hard and they'll come out hard. So just keep in mind that. So again, be careful when you're doing this so that the motor doesn't slip and crush your hands. So just be careful. I just want to be very cautious. Care for yourself. The car can be replaced and your life can't, and don't want you to hurt your hands. So obviously these are our breadwinners. But again, thanks for watching.